As you begin to think about your course structure in Canvas, I'd like to introduce you to the concept of modules. A modular structure helps to organize your course content and streamline it for students. The items that you place in modules can include pages of content, files, discussions, assignments, quizzes, and external links. You may impose a linear structure such that students have to go through these items in a sequential order, or you may leave it open so that they may move around as they wish. You can also lock content so that students can only see it at a predetermined time. See my advanced module tutorial for more on prerequisites and requirements for modules. One of the advantages of this structure is that it allows you to better track student progress and pace students as they work through your content. In order to add content to a module, you'll first go to Modules, and then click on the plus module button. You'll give your module a name, and then click Add Module, and then you'll click on the plus sign across from the new module header. And then depending on what type of item you're adding to your module, you may click on this drop-down menu and choose either assignment, quiz, file, page, discussion, text header, external URL, or external tool. In this video, I'll be discussing the addition of pages and files, as well as simple assignments and external URLs, and I'll cover the other items in additional tutorials. Let's take a look at the types of content you may add to a module. First, we'll look at pages. What is a page in Canvas, and why use one? Well, a page is basically a place to put content that may or may not link out to other content. It may be an embedded article, or text right on the page, or it may be a series of things such as some text, an article, a video, and some links. Here's an example of a page that has an embedded YouTube video, an image of a course schedule, some learning objectives and activities. And now that you've seen some examples of some page content, I'd like to talk with you about why you might embed a file in a page rather than simply adding the file to a module. Now you know that this is a page because of this page icon. And when I click on the link to this page, you can see that I've contextualized the article. So I've given the citation, and you can see that it's embedded on the page. And I've also added prompts so that the students can think about these questions as they're reading the article. In addition, I've added it to the student to-do list so that students know by which date and time they should read the article. So real quickly, I'll show you that by clicking on Edit, you can create a link to your file and embed the file here by typing the link text and highlighting it. And then click on the document icon in the toolbar and choose Course Documents if the file is already uploaded to your course. Once the Add tray appears, find the desired file and click to select it. Note that a little Link Options button will appear just above the link text. Click on it to pull up the Link Options tray. Click to select Automatically Open an Inline Preview. Note that the preview will only appear on the page after clicking to save the page. Click Done and then click Save. If you haven't already uploaded the file to Canvas, highlight the text you wish to link to a file, click the document icon in the toolbar and click on Upload Document. Next, click the Upload File area to browse for the file on your computer or drag and drop the file in that area. Once you find the file, select it, click Open, and click Submit. Note that a little Link Options button will appear. Click on it to pull up the Link Options tray, click to select Automatically Open an Inline Preview, and note that the preview will only appear on the page after clicking to save the page. Click Done and then click Save to see the embedded file on the page. And lastly, in order to add the page to the student to-do list, you'll click on Add to Student To-Do and then pick the date and time by which you wish the students to read that article. These steps are what allow the article to render on the page and also allow your students to see the required reading on their to-do list. Now let's take a look at the scenario where you're working with files in a module. As you can see in this example where it's simply a file added to the module, it does not allow for contextualizing or adding to the student to-do list. There's still good reason to use the file option to add a file directly to a module. For instance, you may wish to create a module that's dedicated to optional readings. And in that case, if there's not a need to put a to-do date and time on a file, you could add the file directly to the module rather than embedding it on a page. So here you can see that there are a series of articles. The students can click on them and see the article right on the screen, and there's again not an attached due date or time. Also note that the articles embedded in this course were widely available on the internet. Please be sure to use best practices of fair use and copyright by utilizing permanent links to our library article databases rather than uploading files from them directly to Canvas. Moving on to the other items you may add to modules, let's take a look at Canvas assignments. If you wish to add content to a module that has very specific availability, you might choose to use the assignment functionality. When adding pages or files, you generally have only the ability to publish them manually. If, however, you wish for certain content to be automatically made available for a certain time frame, then adding it to an assignment gives you that ability. It doesn't necessarily need to be set up for submission. You could simply add the content and set it as not graded, which means it doesn't create an entry in your gradebook or in student grades. But you may add those availability dates. Otherwise, you would need to keep it unpublished and then manually publish it at the desired time rather than setting it to just appear at that specific time frame. Another advantage of putting content into the assignment tool in Canvas is that you may differentiate content using the Add feature at the bottom of the assignment settings. This is not available when using the page or file functionality. Now let's look at external URLs. An external URL, also known as a web link, is the way to add links out to websites directly in the module lineup. This is different from adding a link on a page in that it stands alone in the module as you see here. You copy and paste the link from the browser web address bar and then give the link a name. I also generally recommend having it load in a new tab. Now to recap, you've seen why you might add a page or a file to a module. I also talked about why you might add content to an assignment even if you're not collecting student submissions with the assignment. I want to briefly mention that you may also add discussions and quizzes to a module. Assignments, discussions, and quizzes all need additional explanation and will be featured in future video tutorials. And lastly, I'd like to point out that when using modules to structure your course, it makes sense to hide the course navigation links to pages and files, and possibly assignments. I personally leave assignments visible to students so that they may access them directly. I like to name the assignment groups as advanced organizers of what's upcoming and the types of assignments they'll have. That's something I cover in depth in the assignments video. As for discussions and quizzes, that's again a decision you'll want to make with regard to whether students access them directly through modules or whether they can get to them from the course navigation menu. Please see the course navigation video for more on that functionality. Hopefully you now have a good understanding of how modules serve to structure your course whether you organize content by topic or by weekly modules. Please see my other videos for in-depth instructions on other Canvas topics.